Some of the most shocking animal attacks aren't caused by vicious predators, but by unbelievably poor human decisions. Here are 5 of the dumbest animal attacks ever recorded, where common sense was clearly left behind. In one of the most unbelievably reckless animal encounters ever recorded, a man decided to test his luck against one of the most dangerous creatures on the planet, and somehow lived to tell the tale. During a summer day at the Los Angeles Zoo, this individual did something so absurd it almost sounds fictional. He broke into the enclosure of a hippopotamus, quietly approached the massive animal, and then, without hesitation, slapped it on the backside before sprinting away and jumping back out to safety. Yes, you read that right. A full-grown man intentionally provoked a hippo. To understand just how foolish this act was, you need to realize what a hippopotamus truly is. These animals may look slow, lazy, and even comical as they lounge in the water, but in reality, they are among the deadliest large land mammals on Earth, weighing up to 3,000 pounds, with massive jaws capable of opening nearly 180 degrees and teeth that can grow over a foot long. Hippos are built for destruction. In the wild, they are responsible for more human deaths in Africa than lions, crocodiles, or elephants. They are highly territorial, easily agitated, and capable of explosive bursts of speed that most people would never expect, which makes this man's decision even more mind-blowing. After sneaking into the enclosure, he managed to get dangerously close enough to physically strike the animal. That alone could have ended in an instant tragedy. A single bite from a hippo can crush bones like twigs, and their aggressive charges have overturned boats and killed experienced wildlife professionals. Yet somehow, after delivering the slap, the man managed to turn around, run, and escape without being mauled. Even more shocking is the reaction of the hippos themselves. Instead of launching a full-force attack, the animals responded relatively mildly. They noticed the intrusion, of course, but did not react with the level of aggression one might expect from creatures of their size and power. It's almost as if the sheer stupidity of the situation caught even them off guard. Had they reacted even a second faster, this story would likely have ended very differently. But luck was clearly on this man's side that day. Despite committing one of the dumbest acts imaginable around a wild animal, he escaped completely unscathed. No injuries, no dramatic rescue, no last-second intervention. Just a reckless decision followed by an incredibly fortunate outcome. To make things even stranger, reports suggest that the man was never immediately caught, meaning he not only survived the encounter but also managed to avoid facing consequences right away. Still, this incident serves as a perfect example of how human behavior often turns harmless situations into potentially deadly ones. The hippos were not hunting, not provoked initially, and not acting aggressively until their space was invaded. The danger was created entirely by a human decision that ignored every basic rule of safety and common sense. It also highlights a dangerous misconception that many people have when visiting zoos or wildlife parks. The idea that barriers somehow make animals less dangerous, or that these creatures are used to human presence and therefore safe to approach. In reality, they are still wild animals with natural instincts, and those instincts can be triggered in an instant. What makes this story stand out among the dumbest animal encounters ever recorded is not just the risk involved, but the complete lack of reasoning behind it. There was no emergency, no necessity, no logical explanation. Just a spur-of-the-moment decision that could have easily resulted in a fatal outcome. In the end, this bizarre episode is less about the animal and more about human behavior. The hippos acted exactly as they were expected to: alert, aware, and potentially dangerous. It was the human who introduced chaos into the situation. And while this particular story ended without tragedy, it easily could have become one of the deadliest zoo incidents in history. It was a routine move, something Will Scherer had done countless times before. As part of an educational demonstration, he and a partner would show audiences how to safely control a large alligator. The setup was always the same. His partner would distract the gator from the front, while Scherer approached carefully from behind to demonstrate control techniques. It was a practiced routine, built on experience, timing, and trust. But this time, something went wrong. In a split second, the demonstration turned into a real-life attack. The alligator reacted suddenly, and before Scherer could fully process what was happening, he was bitten. What had once been a controlled environment instantly became dangerous. Looking back, Scherer described the moment as almost unreal. It didn't feel like something that was actually happening. It was too fast, too unexpected. But reality hit quickly. As he pulled away and looked down, he saw puncture wounds on his arm. That's when it became clear. This wasn't just a demonstration gone slightly off track. He was seriously injured and needed immediate help. Even now, recovering in a trauma center with his arm heavily bandaged, Scherer knows just how lucky he was. An alligator's bite is no small matter. With around 80 sharp teeth and an incredibly powerful jaw, even a single snap can cause devastating damage. In his case, the outcome could have been far worse. Remarkably, the bite missed all major arteries, veins, and bones. Considering the force and precision of an alligator's attack, that kind of outcome is rare. Scherer himself admitted that he escaped with what could only be described as incredible luck. A slight difference in position or timing could have led to permanent damage, or worse. At just 28 years old, Scherer wasn't inexperienced. He holds a degree in biology and has spent years working in wildlife-related roles across the country. He had dealt with animals before and understood their behavior. Recently, he had begun an internship at a well-known alligator rescue facility in Texas, a place that houses hundreds of gators of all sizes. The facility regularly hosts tours and participates in public events, aiming to educate people about wildlife safety. The demonstration where the incident occurred was part of one such event, a lively festival where crowds gathered to watch and learn. Everything was proceeding as usual until a small mistake changed everything. According to Scherer, the trigger was simple. He accidentally made contact with the alligator's hind leg using his foot. That single moment was enough. The alligator reacted instantly, driven by pure instinct. There was no hesitation, no calculation, just a natural defensive response. And that's exactly how Scherer sees it. Despite being the one injured, he doesn't blame the animal at all. In fact, he openly admits that the fault lies with him. From his perspective, he made the mistake, and the alligator simply did what any wild animal would do when startled or touched unexpectedly. What makes this incident stand out isn't just the danger involved, but how quickly a controlled situation turned chaotic due to a small human error. It's a powerful reminder that no matter how experienced someone is, working with wild animals always carries risk. Even the slightest misstep can trigger a reaction that no one can fully control. Scherer has since watched footage of the attack, something he hadn't seen until it was shown to him later. While the video captures the intensity of the moment, it also reinforces just how fortunate he was to walk away from it. He is expected to make a full recovery, which in itself is remarkable. However, there's one thing he's been avoiding: telling his parents back in Alabama. Like many people in dangerous professions, he knows how alarming it would be for them to see what happened, especially through viral clips online. In the end, this incident perfectly highlights a key truth behind many so-called dumb animal attacks. The animal wasn't acting aggressively without reason. It was responding exactly as nature intended. It was a human mistake, however small, that triggered the entire situation. And sometimes that's all it takes. In one of the most bizarre and ill-conceived animal-related incidents ever recorded, a man in New Zealand attempted to turn a wild animal into a romantic gift and paid the price for it in the worst possible way. What he likely imagined as a grand gesture quickly turned into a painful, humiliating, and downright reckless disaster. The man, later identified as John Owen Casford, made international headlines in April 2018 after carrying out an unbelievable plan. Under the cover of darkness, he broke into Wellington Zoo with a very specific goal in mind: to steal a squirrel monkey and present it to his girlfriend as a birthday surprise. Yes, instead of flowers or something remotely normal, he decided that a live monkey would be the perfect gift. Sneaking into a zoo at night is already dangerous, but Casford's plan became even more reckless when he attempted to navigate the enclosure. At one point, he tried to climb over an electrified fence while holding the small primate. That's when everything went wrong. In the chaos, he lost his grip on the monkey and fell from a height of more than 8 meters, crashing onto the concrete below. The impact was devastating. He suffered a broken leg and knocked out several of his teeth in the fall. What was supposed to be a stealthy escape turned into a painful and very public failure. Meanwhile, the monkey he had tried to steal was also injured during the ordeal and reportedly left deeply distressed by the experience. The animal, completely innocent in the situation, ended up being another victim of the man's reckless actions. Despite his injuries, Casford didn't immediately get caught at the scene. However, his condition made it almost impossible for him to stay unnoticed. The very next day, authorities found him limping around town, his leg in a cast, casually accompanying his girlfriend on a birthday shopping trip. Unsurprisingly, he was arrested soon after. The consequences were severe. Casford was sentenced to prison not only for the zoo break-in but also due to a history of previous violent offenses. What he may have believed was a bold and romantic gesture ultimately resulted in legal trouble, physical injury, and widespread public ridicule. And as for the relationship that motivated this entire stunt, it didn't last. Ironically, the extreme lengths he went to in order to impress his girlfriend ended up pushing her away instead. However, the story didn't end there. After serving his sentence, Casford attempted to win her back in an equally unusual fashion by appearing on the TV show New Zealand Today. During his appearance, he even tried to serenade her, hoping to rekindle what had been lost. Speaking with host Guy Williams, he opened up about his thought process at the time of the break-in. His explanation revealed just how misguided his reasoning had been, as he described the act as something he believed would make his girlfriend happy. Instead, it became a global example of what not to do. This incident perfectly captures the essence of what makes certain animal encounters so dumb. The monkey didn't attack out of aggression or unpredictability. Everything that went wrong was triggered by human behavior. From breaking into a zoo to handling a wild animal improperly, every step of the situation was fueled by poor judgment. It also highlights a broader issue, the tendency of some individuals to treat wild animals as objects or possessions rather than living creatures with their own needs and instincts. A squirrel monkey may seem small and harmless, but it is still a wild animal that belongs in its natural or protected environment, not as a birthday present. In the end, this strange and painful episode serves as a cautionary tale. What started as an attempt at romance quickly spiraled into injury, legal consequences, and emotional fallout. It's a reminder that when it comes to wild animals, common sense should never be ignored, because sometimes the dumbest decisions lead to the most unforgettable consequences. In yet another shocking example of how unpredictable animals can be, especially when humans underestimate them, a man in Ohio ended up in the hospital after being brutally attacked by an animal most people wouldn't even consider dangerous, a zebra. The incident took place on a quiet Sunday evening in Circleville, when emergency services received a distress call reporting an animal attack at a private residence. What they arrived to, however, was far from ordinary. As deputies from the Pickaway County Sheriff's Office approached the property, they were immediately confronted by a large male zebra, behaving in an aggressive and highly territorial manner. Instead of retreating or showing signs of fear, the animal charged directly toward a police cruiser, creating a tense and dangerous situation right from the start. One of the deputies managed to temporarily drive the zebra away by blasting the cruiser's horn and sirens, buying just enough time to assess the scene. What they found was alarming. A man, later identified as Ronald Clifton, was lying on the ground with a severe injury to his arm. Below the elbow, his right arm was bleeding heavily, indicating a serious bite wound. The attack had clearly been violent, and immediate medical attention was critical. Deputies quickly rushed to his side, helping him to his feet despite his condition. With urgency, they escorted him to a waiting ambulance so paramedics could begin treatment. It was a chaotic moment, but the situation was far from over. As first responders worked to stabilize Clifton, the zebra returned. The same animal that had already attacked once began approaching the area again, this time moving toward where the victim's family members and emergency personnel were gathered. Despite multiple attempts to scare it off, the zebra continued advancing, showing no signs of backing down. At that point, the situation escalated to a life-threatening level. With the safety of multiple logo at risk, and no immediate way to safely contain the animal, one of the deputies made the difficult decision to use lethal force. The zebra was shot and killed to prevent further harm. While tragic, officials considered it necessary given the circumstances and the immediate danger posed. Meanwhile, Clifton was transported to Grant Medical Center, where he was admitted for treatment. Despite the severity of the injury, there was some good news. He was listed in stable condition. According to family members, doctors were optimistic that he would not lose his arm, which, considering the power of such an animal's bite, was incredibly fortunate. What makes this incident particularly unusual and fitting for the category of dumb animal attacks is the type of animal involved. Zebras are often seen as harmless, almost like striped horses. However, that perception couldn't be further from reality. In truth, zebras are wild animals with strong defensive instincts. They are known to be unpredictable, aggressive, and capable of delivering powerful bites and kicks. Despite this, zebras are not classified as banned dangerous animals in Ohio. According to a spokesperson from the Ohio Department of Agriculture, they are legal to own under current regulations. This means individuals can keep them on private property without facing the same restrictions applied to more traditionally recognized dangerous wildlife. There were reportedly several other zebras on the property where the attack occurred. However, authorities indicated that it was unlikely those animals would be removed, as they fall within legal ownership guidelines. Still, this incident raises serious questions about the risks of keeping wild or exotic animals in residential settings. Just because an animal is legal to own does not mean it is safe. Unlike domesticated animals, creatures like zebras retain their natural instincts, and those instincts can be triggered without warning. In this case, what may have seemed like a manageable or even unique animal to own turned into a violent and nearly life-altering encounter. The zebra wasn't acting out of malice. It was reacting instinctively, possibly feeling threatened or asserting dominance in its territory. Ultimately, this story serves as a powerful reminder. Underestimating wild animals can have serious consequences. What looks harmless on the surface can quickly become dangerous when boundaries are crossed or instincts take over. And sometimes, the biggest mistake is assuming an animal is something it's not. On August 25, 2010, a routine flight in Democratic Republic of the Congo ended in one of the strangest and most tragic aviation disasters ever reported. One that, according to some accounts, involved an unexpected and terrifying animal twist. The small aircraft was nearing the end of its journey, just over a mile away from its intended destination. It was early afternoon, around 1 p.m., and everything should have been routine. Instead, the plane suddenly lost control and crashed into a house, killing nearly everyone on board. Out of the 21 passengers, only one person survived the horrific accident. Initially, the explanation seemed straightforward. Reports suggested that the crash may have been caused by a lack of fuel, a common factor in aviation accidents. However, as investigators began examining the wreckage, things didn't quite add up. There was no clear evidence pointing to fuel exhaustion. In fact, officials noted that if the aircraft had run out of fuel in a way that caused engine failure, there would likely have been signs such as an explosion or other telltale damage patterns. But those signs were missing. This raised serious doubts about the initial theory. As confusion grew, alternative explanations began to surface, some more unusual than others. Among them was a claim so bizarre that it almost sounded unbelievable. According to the lone survivor of the crash, the real cause of the disaster wasn't mechanical failure at all. Instead, it was chaos inside the cabin, triggered by a smuggled animal. The survivor alleged that a passenger had secretly brought a live crocodile onto the plane, concealed inside a bag. At some point during the flight, the animal reportedly escaped. What followed, if the account is to be believed, was pure panic. Passengers, terrified at the sight of a loose crocodile in the confined space of a small aircraft, rushed toward the front of the plane in an attempt to get away. In a larger aircraft, this might not have caused a major issue, but in a small, lightly balanced plane, the sudden shift in weight could have been catastrophic. According to this version of events, the mass movement of passengers toward one side caused the aircraft to become unbalanced. The pilot, unable to regain control, struggled to stabilize the plane as it descended rapidly. Within moments, the situation spiraled beyond recovery, and the aircraft went down. While this explanation has never been officially confirmed, it has remained one of the most widely discussed theories surrounding the crash. Its sheer absurdity and the horrifying image it paints has made it unforgettable. What makes this incident particularly striking is how it highlights the unpredictable consequences of reckless human behavior involving animals. If the crocodile theory is true, then the disaster wasn't caused by a technical failure or unavoidable circumstance, but by a completely preventable and irrational decision, bringing a dangerous wild animal onto a plane. Even if the theory remains unproven, it underscores a larger truth seen in many so-called dumb, animal-related incidents. Time and again, humans place themselves and others in danger by ignoring basic safety, common sense, and respect for wildlife. Whether it's sneaking animals into places they don't belong, or underestimating the chaos they can cause, the results can be devastating. In this case, the consequences were catastrophic. Nearly everyone on board lost their lives, and what should have been a routine flight turned into a nightmare. The possibility that such a tragedy could have been triggered by something as preventable as smuggling a wild animal only adds to the sense of disbelief. In the end, this crash stands as one of the most bizarre and unsettling examples of how human decisions involving animals can spiral out of control. Whether fully confirmed or not, the story continues to circulate as a chilling reminder that sometimes the most dangerous situations aren't caused by nature alone, but by the risks people choose to take.